stuff.
Don't talk to me about points on my license, please. I'm currently serving a 6-month driving ban.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jesus.
Did the DVLA send paperwork to my old address and I got done for not responding?
Well, if it's your old address.
Well, I'd updated the address on my license.
Well, that's their fault.
Yeah, thank you. But I got to go to court. I got to go to court and sort it all out.
Yeah, but let's not talk about that. That's fair enough.
It's just a pain in the ass.
That it is. I think we've gone live.
It says we have.
Yeah, it just takes a moment to buffer on my computer. There we go. Yeah, I don't know why it lets me know that the meeting's being live streamed, but I'm the one who did that. Like, I know.
Because it's poorly coded, and it'll be done just to do it each individual person.
Yeah.
Set at 5 o'clock. What's 5 o'clock? That is in 3 minutes.
I'll keep an eye on the FIA website, but I doubt we'll have anything.
Yeah, let's just watch Twitter.
Yeah, they know before anybody else.
It's an annoyingly good source of information.
I can't stand Twitter. I don't have it. I don't have it for that reason. It's just a cesspool.
Yeah, same here. And follow us on at F1 Chronicle. Everybody who's listening to this on Twitter.
If you do want Twitter news that's nice and reliable.
Yeah, because nobody ever lies on the internet today.
No, of course not. And that's the truth.
Lying on the internet.
Who's car number 7? Kimi, isn't it?
I believe it's Kimi.
That is Kimi Räikkönen, yeah. What's he done now?
Oh, no, it's just pre-race procedure. I was wondering why he started from the pit lane. Because I was late tuning in. Oh, he changed his rear wing.
He did, yes. Basically, just why not? Just put a skinnier rear wing on, better for overtaking. Didn't pay off in the end, but it was worth a go.
Yeah. So I just flicked through the document for the following parts apparently have been changed, replaced during Parc Fermé. Pretty much every team apart Ferrari on that. Every team changed something on at least one of their cars between Parc Fermé and the race.
Is that allowed? I thought you weren't allowed to change things.
Well,
it's just like you only change certain things.
Yeah, so
you can do it like for like. If there's a mechanical problem with the, like, say you clobbered a curb or something like that, you could change, let's say, a foot plate or something for a like piece.
Yeah, but I did see some Mercedes fans kicking off majorly because Verstappen was having a replacement rear wing, upper flap, and snubber, and some other bits, and then they were just losing their mind, thinking that he was having undue work done.
It was a bit of an odd. I listened to some of the post-race stuff. It was a bit of an odd question that Herbert asked, just like to Toto Wolff. Oh yeah, is your car definitely legal now? It's just like, well, if it wasn't, he wouldn't say.
Yeah.
And like, what is the point of that question?
I know. I've seen. See, the thing is, sometimes it catches people out.
Yeah. I don't think he would have caught Toto out there, to be honest.
No, I imagine not. Like, he seems the sort of person that can, run rings around most people intellectually, but. It's one of those things that you never know on occasions. It can just it can just take some people off guard.
Right, just sharing this around and then we'll go live. Start recording in a moment. How you been, by the way, Alex? How's things?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Yourself?
All right, yeah, I just got back from Portugal. That's why I didn't end up publishing your Brazil Classic piece, to be honest with you. I've just been too busy. Never put it up. Literally realised, like, yesterday I was thinking, oh, God, I didn't do the article for Alex.
Yeah, I realised, to be honest, I've been away myself.
Yeah, fair enough. Just can't predict this season though.
It
I
just twists and turns
every single time. Yeah,
it's just exhilarating.
That's Formula One, though. It just has a habit
yeah,
of always raising the bar.
Yeah, it's like I thought after this weekend, I thought Mercedes are in trouble. Then Hamilton, I knew he was going to do well yesterday. I did not think he'd get from P20 to P5. I thought he'd get stuck about P11, P10. And dare say anybody else would have. But no, that man can do things that I don't think anybody else on the grid can in that car.
It's doing this thing on Facebook where it doesn't. When I share it, it shares it to the page rather than my own, like my wall or my newsfeed, whatever the hell it's called now. I don't know why it does that. Anyway, I think that'll do. All right, we all ready?
Yep.
All right, let's get going. Thrown out of qualifying on Saturday, wins the race on Sunday. What a champion's drive today by Sir Lewis Hamilton in Brazil. Welcome back to the Grid Talk podcast, everybody. This is episode number 151, where I'll be reviewing the 2021 Sao Paulo Grand Prix, aka the Brazilian Grand Prix. I'm your host, George Howson, and joining me today are F1 expert Alex Booth.
Hello.
Tom Downey from the EF1 podcast.
Hello.
And engineer Owain Medford.
Hello.
So, lads, let's get into the race. Obviously, like I mentioned in the intro, Hamilton was thrown out of qualifying with his illegal rear wing, although Mercedes maintained that it was damaged, but that's topic for another day. But despite that, Hamilton, he got up to fifth during the sprint, and today, Owain, he absolutely cut through the field like a hot knife through butter. He was up to fourth by the end of lap 3, I think. He was just on another level today.
Yeah. I think I was a bit worried personally after, it was for me, the drive in the sprint was probably one of the drives of the season. That's a championship saving drive. And then he's gone and followed it up with another championship saving drive. I think the win today for Hamilton was it had to happen. Otherwise, I think it was probably over for Mercedes and Hamilton to win the championship. But as you say, up 4 places in, he's up to third, but in 5 laps, which is, obviously he's got a load of help from unfortunately, Norris got that puncture, and Bottas was never going to be much of an issue, but absolute champions drive there.
Yeah, that was Hamilton unleashed. He had nothing to lose. He had to try and win this race, and I honestly believe until about halfway through that he probably wasn't going to have, he was going to finish second, but he just stormed through. And it was a great battle between Hamilton and Verstappen, Tom, if not a controversial one. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be wondering why the students didn't take further action when Verstappen appeared to take Hamilton off the road in turn 4, taking them both off the road for that matter. But in the end, Hamilton, he just had too much pace for him. He raced off into the distance and he was 10 seconds ahead by the end.
Yeah, I was surprised that it wasn't even it was investigated, but I was surprised that nothing came of it. And I say this as a Max Verstappen fan. Max, I think, crossed the line there, and I don't just mean the track boundary. It was beyond risky, that move. And when he was watching it, I was just thinking, "Oh, Max, what are you doing?" But Lewis kept his cool. He knew he had him banged to rights almost by that point. And Hamilton just showed why he is a 7-time world champion. The years and years and years of experience, the times that he has put other drivers under pressure to get the leads in other races. You could see it. You could see it coming into turn 1. As soon as I saw him almost fake that dive down the outside into turn 1, he forced Max to move. Max then cut back, which meant Hamilton was a lot closer. Already had DRS, got the slipstream, off he went. Ta-da, son. See you next week. It was just, yeah. And Max, I think I think it was inevitable that was going to happen. The safety car and virtual safety cars definitely benefited Mercedes because they could catch up to a point. And yeah, it was just a titanic battle between the two of them.
It was, yeah. Every time we've had a sprint, it's only happened 3 times this season. There's always been an on-track incident. At least this time, though, it didn't end with both or one of the drivers flying out of the race. And because it's absolutely vital for Hamilton as well. He's not taken the lead back in the Drivers' Championship. It's 14 points, but if it wasn't for that, it would have been 28 or something like that, I think, which is over a race win. So it's an absolutely vital thing for him to do going into Qatar next week. But yeah, I mean, there's been races this year where Red Bull have seemed to have the better car. There's been races where Mercedes have seemed to have the better car. But I think this weekend, Alex, Hamilton has just really outshone even what that car can perform. It's been one of his most important and crucial drives this weekend.
It was an unbelievable drive. The engine change going into the weekend was a bonus because it was a nice fresh engine for them. And it certainly gave them the edge in straight line speed. But that's taking nothing away from Lewis's drive today. It was unbelievable. I thought that a podium was possible, like potentially third, but I thought Verstappen would be far ahead to really challenge for the victory. But I was proven wrong. And he did exactly what he had to do because, as you say, if it had gone the other way around, it would have been a 28-point deficit with only 3 races left. It's not ideal unless there's a retirement for the opponent, which is unlikely to happen for reliability. So it was perfect for Lewis today and damage limitation for Red Bull and Verstappen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think someone figured out that Hamilton did something like 25 overtakes during the sprint and today's race combined, which you can say, oh yeah, he's got the best car. You can say he's got a new engine. You can say all this and that and the other. At the end of the day, there's not many people on the grid, if anybody else, who could do something like that. I think Hamilton and Verstappen are 2 of the very few who could manage that. It's just unbelievable from both of them. They've been in incredible form. And it's only 3 rounds left, but it's going to be tight. It's going to be intense between them. We don't know what's going to happen next weekend. We have no idea. You can try and predict it all you want. We thought that this circuit would have suited Red Bull more. It doesn't appear like it did. It seemed like it was more of a Mercedes track, if anything. But yeah, so yeah, Verstappen, he finished second. Owain, it's not bad by any means. Horner was saying on the radio after that, it was damage limitation, but at the end of the day, he did start in second place today. He did take the lead by the first corner, so he will be disappointed in a way, but it's not a disaster. He did hold off Bottas to the finish.
Yeah, 100%. I think Mercedes had the edge car-wise. I think they'd extracted more performance out of it. I think the Red Bull, I don't know. If we're looking at car potential, I think it's a lot of it's coming. We're on a knife edge here over whether it's going to go Mercedes' way or Red Bull's way. Because as you say, we expected it to go Red Bull's way coming into the weekend. But I think with the probably on balance weaker car, Verstappen, showed that he put up a hell of a fight during the middle portion of that race against Lewis when he did everything he needed to do, and it was only sort of a bit of tire, just a tire advantage really, and Lewis having as I said, a cracking race, to the point where Verstappen, I don't think for me at least. He to keep him behind as long as he did was impressive because I think that gap was only widening in the relative performance of each other, and as you say, he kept off. He managed to keep Valtteri Bottas at bay. Keep I think it was a 3.5 second gap at the end. That could easily have gone in a few laps if Bottas had pushed earlier, and Verstappen could have been ended up third. So to still take second against a Mercedes team who were probably the better of the two is exactly what he needs to do, and it just slows the rate that Hamilton is catching up on him.
Yeah, definitely. It was important for him to get second place today. I mean, I'm sure he would have wanted to win it. I'm sure he thought he could have won it before this race today. Just wasn't to be though. Hamilton was just too quick for everybody today. It's just, like we said a few times, he's just on another level. But that second place for Verstappen and the fourth place for Perez does keep Red Bull in the hunt for the Constructors' Championship. It's just 11 points between Mercedes and Red Bull. Mercedes having the advantage there. So we'll move on to the man who completed the podium today, Valtteri Bottas. Tom, he won the sprint yesterday, and today, despite losing the lead at the start, I was thinking to myself, well, he's not really doing Hamilton any favors here. Like, this is the Bottas that we've kind of feared might rear his ugly head again. But despite that, I think today he did a decent job. He did get slightly lucky with the virtual safety car to overtake Perez, but third place and a lot of constructors' points for Mercedes.
Yeah, Bottas did what Mercedes needed him to do today. I think when Toto said, come on, Valtteri, we can get Max, I think that was a bit wishful thinking, realistically. But Bottas did well. He had a really good Saturday. The way he stormed into the lead in the sprint qualifying, whatever you want to call it. And then today, didn't get the best of start, fell victim to a very, very aggressive Verstappen who basically threw down an Uno reverse card from yesterday, and then ended up beating Bottas off the line. I do think that inside sort of grid slot, so that P2 almost seems to favour whoever's starting at Brazil, or it certainly seems to have been this weekend. Maybe it's because it was cooler or just a bit of an anomaly this week, but it certainly helped this. It certainly helped this year. But yeah, Bottas held on to P3. I don't think he was ever really going to be in contention for P2. And when he said to Mercedes on the team radio, I think we've thrown away a solid 1-2 here, I'm not too sure. I think an angry Max, fueled by Red Bull, in a Red Bull, was probably always going to hunt him down and pass him, especially if he was on all tyres. The virtual safety car as well really helped Mercedes to make sure that there was enough of a gap up ahead, because he only lost something like 11 seconds as opposed to the full 20, 22, 24 seconds that a pit stop usually takes. So yeah, he had a stroke of luck, but he had a good weekend to even start from where he started. Some good battles, and just did what he needed to. Oh, and he practically stopped when he moved over for Hamilton. He practically did an emergency stop into turn one, but that was always going to happen.
Yeah, it absolutely didn't make it. I think they said invert the cars on the radio, but the way that Bottas went about actually getting out of the way, it was very obvious. But end of the day, it doesn't matter. We all know team orders are part of Formula One. Whether you like them or loathe them, they're always going to be in that kind of situation. Bottas did get out of the way, which earlier on in the season, I think in Spain, he refused to for a long time. So it's good to see him doing that. Next up, we have Sergio Perez. He finished in fourth place. And again, I don't want to be harsh on Checo. I do like the guy. I do think he's a great driver. But I think Alex is going to be disappointed with this. He was second at the start of the race. He did get unlucky with Bottas getting the virtual safety car, but being held up by Sainz for the entire sprint when you think thought he would have got past him as well. It's just a little bit more, but fourth isn't a disaster. It's still quite a few points for Red Bull for the constructors.
It is. I mean, as you say, he will be disappointed today because he got really rather unlucky with the virtual safety car, which allowed Bottas to gain a bit of an advantage over him, and that cost him a potential podium. It was more disappointing for him yesterday, really, because he probably should have got past Sainz, and he wasn't able to, which was surprising. And what went on with the virtual safety car today, that's a look at the jaw. But he did a good tactic from Red Bull by snatching the fastest lap away from Lewis right at the end, because they couldn't do it straight away because they would have just reacted with Bottas doing the same thing. So they played that strategic call right because they had a massive gap over Leclerc and fifth, and he came away with fourth place, which wasn't brilliant, but it was the best that he could have really done in that situation.
Yeah, most likely, yeah. And he did get the fastest lap as well to get a bonus point for that. So took that away from, I think it was Hamilton at the time, who had the fastest lap. They pitted him with a few laps to go. So I've seen it quite a few times. He might as well done because it was a big gap. back to 5th place, who was Charles Leclerc. And Carlos Sainz was in 6th as well. I mean, an excellent day for Ferrari, really, Tom. As much as it pains me to say, it does appear very obviously that Ferrari are the 3rd best team now. They are the 3rd best team in terms of pace and results. They were kind of in no man's land today, but that's a good thing for them because they were well clear of the rest of the midfield.
Yeah, it's been a good weekend for Ferrari, sort of all around. You know, P5, P6, they couldn't have really asked for much more. They were best of the rest, which, given where they were last year, it was pretty woeful. It's done them, as much as it pains me to admit it as well, because I adore McLaren with all my heart, especially Lando. They've got roughly a 35, I think, point lead over McLaren now in the constructors, because Ferrari picked up a good haul for P5 and P6, and Lando came home either P9 or P10, so he's picked up a point, maybe 2, and Danny Rick had a DNF with a power unit issue. So I thought McLaren were going to be bob on for 3rd this year in the constructors, and then Ferrari just sort of started sneaking up behind them, and then next thing you know, they've been right there. I've been writing them off, and that is, don't I look like a fool now? Because Ferrari are, unless something drastic happens, I think they will take 3rd in the constructors. And Carlos Sainz, I don't think he gets enough credit for the absolute sensational launch he had yesterday at the start of the sprint race. Today, didn't have a very good launch. Got passed by Lando, and then ultimately Lando thought he had more room than he did. Sainz was lucky to not get a puncture, but it wasn't his fault. And then, like you said, George, they just drove around in no man's land, which is a bit like what Pierre Gasly's been doing, to be honest. But they're just doing what they need to do to secure the points, get more funding for next year. Not the Ferrari short of money.
Well, I mean, there's all the budget caps and stuff coming in, so a bit of income like that'll definitely help them out no end. Yeah, I mean, fair play to Ferrari. I mean, they've last year it was just torrid for them. We documented that no end. And while they haven't won a race this year, they've been a lot more consistent. And like you said as well, I think it's a 31-point gap they now have over McLaren, which you don't want to say it's a done deal, but it's probably a done deal. I mean, I think unless they have an absolute disaster in the last few races, that those new engines they put in around Russia and Turkey, they're just performing so well for them. Really is doing a treat for them. But yeah, we'll move on. So yeah, Tom mentioned Pierre Gasly there. Alex, he finished in 7th place today. Not quite the lofty heights of 4th like it was in Mexico, but a good race nevertheless for him. Solid points for AlphaTauri. And the battle between AlphaTauri and Alpine remains level because of it.
Yeah, it's not like the real dizzy heights as you mentioned, but it's another points finish that he's done. He's been ultra consistent this year as Pierre Gasly. And as you mentioned, the race between AlphaTauri and Alpine goes on. Alpine really could do with the second car of Yuki Tsunoda getting some points to really help them in that fight, because I think if you're to ask me right now, I think it's more in Alpine's favour because they seem to be able to get, well, at least more likely to get 2 cars in the points, which is what they're going to need. But Gasly's doing his utmost, and it wasn't his best race of the season, but he still managed to get a decent result.
Yeah, he did all he could at the end of the day, and he did a hell of a lot better than his teammate, who we will get onto not in the not too distant future. And like a true professional, I completely forgot to mention the 5-star review rule that we have here on Grid Talk after the 5th place man. So I'll mention it now. So if you guys leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, you'll get a shout out at the start of the show, and you'll be entered into one of our free competitions, which are running right now as well. Get some free merchandise if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because obviously we go out live on YouTube these days before it goes onto the streaming platforms. If you leave a comment on the video proper, not just the live chat, although please do get involved with that, they do answer your questions on there. If you leave a comment on the video proper, and if you leave a 5-star review on iTunes, you'll be entered into 3 different draws to win some free merchandise from our new store, f1chronicle.com/store, if you want to check out what we've got there: t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, all that good stuff. So yeah, please head over to there if you want to support the show. And yeah, I mentioned Alpine there, Tom. Esteban Ocon in 8th, Fernando Alonso in 9th, which I am very surprised to be saying that. They weren't really anywhere in the sprint. They they were kind of just ghosting around the edge of the points. But I don't know if they ran an alternate strategy or something, but they just crept up there during the race. And fair play to them. It's 6 big points for them at the end of the day.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I'm just as surprised as you were that that Alpine did quite as well as they did. I didn't think they were going to go that well, especially given their fairly lowly starting positions. But it was nice to see them bring home a double points finish. I mean, nothing is going to quite top their double points finish from Hungary, but it was still a solid outing today from them. Maybe they benefited a bit from the safety car from the VSCs. I can't remember exactly when they pitted, but whatever they did, they made it work today. It's given them a good chunk of points in the fight with AlphaTauri. I'm just going to look up to see what the points difference is between them, because those two have been pretty level on points recently. And okay, I caught
62 for Alonso, 50 for Ocon.
Yeah, and then actually, interestingly though, the teams are they are actually tied on points at the moment.
They still are, yeah.
Yeah, but Alpine are ahead because they have a race win. And also, side note, I think the BBC Sport website might have made an error because it says Mercedes got 521 points and Red Bull have 510. I don't think that's right.
That is right. They're all both on 0.5 though. That's the only thing, but that is correct.
What each? Oh, ignore me.
It's all right, mate.
I looked at that and I thought, because I saw the names, I thought, oh, a driver usually has 300 and something points, but then I just realised I flipped tabs.
Moving on. Well, moving on. Unfortunately, next we need to go to the final point score. At least it was 1 point this weekend for McLaren. Lando Norris finishing in 10th place today. But Owain, it could have and should have been a lot more. Ricciardo, obviously, he was in the points, but he retired with an engine issue, which will worry Mercedes a little bit. But I suppose with the 20 engines that each driver's used this season, they'll be all right. Norris, he did start fairly high up there, but had an incident with Sainz, I think it was, off the line. And to be honest with you, even though obviously I probably am a little bit biased towards McLaren, I think that's probably Norris's mistake. There was room for him to go around the outside and he didn't use it.
Yeah, he did cut across on Sainz a little bit. I think he just, maybe in the throng of it, he just sort of lost sight of just an awareness of where Sainz was. So yeah, probably his fault. In total, it's not a great weekend for McLaren at all. 1 point, and then to have a fairly strong points finish for Ferrari, because we've been saying for weeks that the Ferrari seemed to have got on top of their car, and to be best of the rest is quite impressive. But to come back to McLaren, I think it's sort of that's starting to slip away from them now. The ability to come third in the championship, and as good as they looked, it's now falling away from them a bit. It's a good recovery drive. Let's not be like, he got helped in certain ways by the safety car and the VSC and things like that. Did Norris to actually get where he did, and obviously the retirement of his teammate probably helped a little bit. So that's a blessing and a curse in some ways. But yeah, the fact that unfortunately it's a situation of his own making. But to recover, to have the awareness not to pound it round on his way back, which could has easily ended races before in up and down the motorsports ladder, as it were. And we've seen it happen where Lewis has had to retire from a puncture like that. To have the awareness not to race the car back, as it were, and destroy his race completely is good. And it's translated into 1 point. So yeah, I don't think there's any chance of this slicking backwards. But for McLaren, it's been a poor weekend, and I think it's probably cost them ultimately the constructors' championship place over Ferrari. Yeah,
I totally agree. I think other than the start itself, Norris did a standout job today to come from getting a puncture well behind, nearly almost a lap behind. To finish 10th is admirable, even in a car as good as the McLaren. I think he did a standout job, other than it's just his getaway, really. That's the only thing that let him down. Next up, 11th place, Sebastian Vettel, Alex. I mean, he's going to be disappointed not to score points, obviously, but I don't think he really could have done much better than what he did today. I think he was up in, what was he, 6th or 7th in the early stages, but the pace of that Aston Martin just isn't there. And like we said a few times, they're just moving on, looking forward to 2022.
Yeah, it's been a recurring theme really of this season that Aston Martin just haven't really had what it's taken. Sebastian Vettel probably come away with one of the biggest internet hits of the weekend when he said, "I'm going to go and touch Lewis's rear wing at the end of the sprint." But that's probably the highlight of his weekend, really. It just missed the point finish, and unfortunately, Stroll had an unfortunate incident when he was clipped by Tsunoda at the start, and that must have damaged his car. And that was a one retirement for Aston Martin, and an on-point finish. So it's another weekend really that they'll want to quickly forget and move on from.
Yep, absolutely. Not a good weekend for them, but it's not a surprise either. And they're going to stay in 7th in the constructors. Williams can't catch them, and they can't catch AlphaTauri nor Alpine ahead of them. So they're just counting down the races to next year, really, at this point, to be honest. Next up, we have the Alfa Romeos. Kimi Räikkönen recovering from his crash in the sprint race and starting from the pit lane in this race to finish 12th, and Antonio Giovinazzi in 14th. Just another average race for them. There's not a hell of a lot we can really say from this one, Tom. I mean, at least Räikkönen made some overtakes, but Giovinazzi, I don't even remember seeing him other than being laps, really.
Yeah, it's a bit ominous for Giovinazzi, isn't it? Especially given this apparent poster welcoming Guan Yu Zhou has been spotted in China. He'd had an all right Friday even. In fact, both the drivers had an all right Saturday, and I think Gio started the sprint race about 9th or something, or finished at 9th. He had done pretty well. There was certainly somewhere where he finished 9th. I'm sure of it.
I think he was up in the top 10 in Q1. He was really high up there.
But yeah, there was definitely something where I thought that's good to see from Gio. But alas, it's come to nothing. I mean, like you said, the Alfa Romeos, they're not going to catch Williams, and barring some seismic shift in the universe, Haas are not going to get enough points to overtake Alfa Romeo. So that they are solidly in 9th position. Räikkönen is literally just counting down the days until he can go home and just be done with it. I think he looks like someone who is pretty much mentally checked out. Gio, he looks like he's still driving for his career, but I think if they were going to announce him, they would have done it by now. I think the reason they haven't announced anyone yet is because they are just hashing out deals, and obviously the delay with the Michael Andretti takeover. I think maybe they've gone back to reevaluating their options. I would be surprised to see Gio kept on for next year, which I think would be a shame, because I think he has improved this year. He's learned a lot from Kimi, but I think it's just too little, too late for him.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he's been particularly bad, but I don't think he's been particularly good either. I wouldn't blame Alfa Romeo for wanting to move him on, or whatever guys the Sauber outfit, the Heimville outfit, take next year. But we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, that poster for Zhu in Shanghai, that's pretty ominous. But it could also potentially just be a wishful fan, in a way, a hopeful fan of Zhu in Chinese motorsport. But we'll see what happens. It's definitely possible. It's definitely possible that Zhu will go there. We'll see what happens. Another team that didn't score any points this weekend was Williams. George Russell in 13th. I think he ran extremely long on the hard tyres after pitting in the first few laps or so. And Latifi down in 16th. Again, it's another disappointing weekend from Owain, but it's not a surprise. They've done their work. They've got their points. And again, they're another team that are really looking forward to next year.
Yeah, they're pretty safe in the Constructors' Championship in 8th. As has been said, we don't really see Alfa Romeo, going forwards from this point. And I think 13th from George is pretty good, based on the fact that he's taken advantage, obviously, of a couple of DNFs in front of him. And I remember reading earlier in the week that he can't sort of see where the car performance has gone. So from obviously getting into Q3 on occasion earlier this year, it seems they've slipped back, and I think the other teams have just started to move away from them, and sort of shut them out of those those positions they used to get in. I think for George to do any better than he did today, which is already pretty good, he would have needed something like some rain or something like that to just shift the balance of the weekend, and Nicholas as well. It's just they seem to do better when there's changeable conditions, and other people maybe don't do so well. But a lot of the people in front of them ran decent enough races, and unfortunately that there wasn't any big scenario, any big sort of events for them to profit off really, by the couple of retirements as I've mentioned before. So I think that's it's a decent enough weekend for Williams. Were I them, I'd be waiting until 2022 and hope that that's a bit more prosperous.
Yeah, absolutely. They did all they could at the end of the day, and with a track temperature of about 50 degrees Celsius, there wasn't going to be any rain coming onto that. But you never know. You never know in Brazil. It's a funny old circuit. Some weird weather has happened over the years, but it didn't look like it was going to rain today, to be honest. And next up, we have Yuki Tsunoda, 15th place for him. Just a really bad race for him. I'm not going to pull any punches with this one. We've been praising him a bit I'm feeling sorry for him with some of the words that some of the Red Bull hierarchy have been saying about him. But Alex, he's not done himself any favours today, especially with that crash with Lance Stroll, which he got a 10-second penalty for.
No, it was an ambitious move by Tsunoda, and it's not really what he really needs. Because he's getting a bit of a reputation for mistakes and incidents, and that's not really a good thing when you've got a helmet marker over your shoulder. But he kept on going after pitting and brought the car home. But as I mentioned before, if AlphaTauri are going to be finishing ahead of Alpine, they could do it on pace because AlphaTauri is a quicker car than the Alpine, I think. But they need both cars in the point. So yeah, Tsunoda needs to improve next week.
Yeah, it's. I mean, at the end of the day, I think the kid's talented. He's clearly got speed, but he just needs to stop hitting people. Basically, that move was not on. It's just something, isn't it? I don't get why he was trying that. Just try and make up ground, probably desperately. He shouldn't be doing that though. At the end of the day, and because of that, I think Lance Stroll did retire because of the damage on his car. He had a few parts shedding off, and I think Aston Martin just decided to retire it because they lost too much performance. But speaking of losing performance, the team that don't really have any, the Haas, of course, did end up last in this one as usual, 17th and 18th. Nikita Mazepin, this time for once, finished ahead of his teammate, but that was not because of his speed. It was because of Mick Schumacher's multiple incidents. I think he hit one of the Alfa Romeos, lost his front wing, and that caused one of the safety cars, Tom. Yeah, I mean, other than that, it was just nothing you can really say about them. At least they were only 2 laps down.
Yeah. I mean, there's only so much we can say about Haas this year. We know how bad their car is, and we know that they're not developing it. But yeah, it's just. I said this yesterday, actually, on the pod. It must be quite soul-destroying for them to actually come into come into every weekend just knowing that they're going to be lost, they're going to be lapped. And it's just, what can they do? They're not even racing with themselves, because Gunter would probably, smash another door or something. But yeah, it's just, I really don't have anything to add. They turned up, they drove, they finished 2 laps down, and now they're going to be heading off to Qatar to do the same thing. And as I say that, we have news on Lewis Hamilton. Would you like me to read it out?
Yep, go on. We've talked about it before the show got going. Hamilton allegedly breaching sporting regulations for not having his belts done up properly.
Okay, so Lewis Hamilton has been fined €5,000 with an additional €20,000, which is suspended through the end of 2022. It It is a breach of Appendix L, Chapter 3, Article 4 of the FIA International Sporting Code. In layman's terms, he took off his belts while he was on his slowdown lap. And he's been fined 5K for it.
I think he can afford it. I think he'll be all right.
I think he'll probably get 10 times that in the bonus for today.
Yeah, probably, and well deserved too, because he was incredible today. But yeah, those are the 20 drivers. Obviously, I did mention as well that Ricciardo, he was in the points, had an engine issue, had to retire, and Lance Stroll, I'm guessing he retired because of damage to his car from the incident with Yuki Tsunoda. So let's vote for our driver of the day. I think Sir Lewis Hamilton did win it in the actual poll for the real driver of the day on the F1.com website. And I can't give it to anybody else. I have to give it to Hamilton here. He's made 25 overtakes through the weekend. Yes, he's got a quick car. Yes, he had a brand new engine. But how can you look past that? I personally can't look past that. Owain, who's your driver of the day?
I'm not going to say any different, because I think, there's a case, all through this season, I would say that, no matter what the result has been, that we've had a class of two, with between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, and today, it's unfortunate if you're a Max fan, but we had a class of one. There was no one else on that track doing anything better. And that's one of those performances that's going to go down, in the pantheon. That's a Hall of Fame level performance. If you want to see a Grand Prix drive that sort of nails together everything that you need to know about Lewis Hamilton, that one right there. So absolutely him for me.
Yeah, 100% there. And people are saying it's possible to pass around Interlagos, and it absolutely is, but it's not easy. It's not one of the easiest tracks to pass on. We've had it through the years where guys just cannot get past. They get stuck behind other drivers. Tom, who's your pick for driver of the day?
It's got to be Lewis Hamilton. He is. That was just a drive of a champion. What more can we say? You said about the overtakes, the moves he put in, the pressure he put on Max. Yeah, it has to be Hamilton. Has to be.
Alex, are you going to make it a full house for Hamilton?
I'd be a brave man if I didn't, wouldn't I? I think it's got to be, hasn't it? I mean, it was in a class of his own today. I'm trying to give an honourable mention to somebody else, but I can't. It's just on a different pedestal, really. Lewis Hamilton's drive today, so it's definitely going to be a full house.
Yeah, that's the thing. You look down the order and you think, who did a better job than him? He literally came from the back, the start of the sprint, and then got sent back another 5 places for the start of this one. It's just unbelievable, and more importantly for him, it keeps his championship alive, because it could have been almost over after this potentially, especially if Max didn't have any more retirements. And I think David Croft said it in the Sky commentary while Hamilton was taking the checkered flag. 101 wins for him now, which matches all the Brazilian drivers in F1 history. So Senna, Piquet, Barrichello, Fittipaldi, Massa, all of them combined, they've got the same amount of wins as Hamilton, which is, it just doesn't seem right, does it? It doesn't seem possible, but he's done it, and he's probably going to surpass that in a few weeks' time with 3 rounds left this season. But yeah, so let's give you guys a chance to plug your outlets. Tom, I've mentioned that you're part of the EF1 crew. So what is the podcast that you guys do, and where can people find it?
Yeah, so I'm part of Everything F1. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. We are Everything F1. We also have our podcast, which is the Everything F1 podcast, which is available on Apple Music, iTunes, whatever it's called, Spotify, our website, all your favorite podcasting locations. And also we have our website, which is everythingf1.com.
Yeah, definitely check those guys out. I've been on their podcast, and they do run a fantastic page on Facebook as well. I do generally get a lot of my news updates and rumor information from your guys' page. So yeah, definitely check them out. Owain, is anything you want to plug?
Yeah, it's been on a sort of unfortunately just with the way that the scheduling works out there, it's been on a bit of hiatus as I've been saying for multiple weeks now. So if you've been listening, I'm sorry if you've got sick of it. But if you like a sort of a more let's say light-hearted take on the weekend, I normally do that. I round up sort of the 10 of the best memes that usually come from the race. On sportlightpro.com, and it will be coming back from Qatar now that it's moving a bit earlier in the day on a Sunday, so that will be back, not with a vengeance, just back. probably
the
slightly
memes
worse.
will be back with a vengeance.
Slightly worse and more derivative than before, but it's fine.
Yep, definitely check that out when it when it comes back. You've committed now, Owain. I'm gonna hold you.
Yeah, I'm held to that now. That's it.
Yeah, I've got to hold you to that. And yeah, and those pieces do well. To be fair, they all consistently, even though the races were months and months ago, they still do well. They still dragging viewers from cyberspace. And another series that does well as well is the classic review, the F1 Blast from the Past, written by the one and only Alex Booth.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I love my F1 archives, as you know. So I contribute to writing. Every time we go to a Grand Prix, I write about a classic race there in the past. It's going to be a little bit difficult over the next 3 races because we've got Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and we've never raced there before. So I have to be ingenious for that. And Abu Dhabi, I don't mean to sound too negative, but we've only had one great race there in the history that we've been there, and I wrote about that last year. So, but the thing is, with the championship in the way it is, especially as now we're on 14 points. So if it's barring any fastest lap points for Hamilton or Verstappen, if it's a Hamilton and Verstappen 1-2 in that order in Qatar, it's 7. And again in Saudi Arabia, it'll be neck and neck going into Abu Dhabi. So watch out for a classic championship decider and a potentially classic report on a previous championship decider.
Yeah, and there have been some absolute classics for that as well. Down the years, some huge championship deciders. It is building up. It's just a shame it's at Abu Dhabi. I'd like it to be at Brazil where it was at today, but those days are sadly gone, unfortunately, in Formula One. Hopefully they come back, but I wouldn't expect it to. But yeah, so thank you for plugging your outlets, guys. We've just passed 300 subscribers on YouTube now as well. Obviously, I mentioned before, we do go out live on YouTube. So if you want to catch the show about an hour after each session, after the sprint or qualifying or race, that's the place to go. Just search for F1 Grid Talk on YouTube. And we're also available on the regular podcasting platforms as well: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Verbal, Omni Studio, and Pocket Casts. Just search for the F1 Grid Talk on all of those. And you can check out our huge back catalogue of shows, over 150 episodes now. We passed 150 episodes now for you to get through. Just, obviously it's the previews, reviews, the qualifying reviews, and some more documentary style pieces as well, like the Ayrton Senna special, Tiregate, the 1994 Benetton conspiracy, and 2 interviews with Mario Asola from Pirelli as well. And thank you for joining us, lads. Really do appreciate it as always.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Anytime.
And we're back tomorrow from 8 o'clock UK time to preview the very first Formula One Qatar Grand Prix. Until then, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you for the next one. Bye-bye.
I've just had a thought, Alex, for your previews for the Blast from the Past races.
I've got some ideas, but fire them at me.
Right, I'm thinking, because as you say, sometimes the race. I find often a lot of the championships come down to, you end up looking at like, oh well, if that person hadn't gone off there or that hadn't happened there, maybe like sort of maybe some of the races we haven't had this season. So let's say China. I was thinking maybe like China 2007 of like, remember when. I don't remember that one being a particularly good race, but I did rewatch it recently, and Lewis Hamilton going off obviously with his completely, worn to the canvas tires, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I remember that very well. That's a very good idea. Like I said, the idea I had was, which was pretty like an easy way out. Really, it was. I think just simply because it was Qatar. I thought maybe writing about the first time Formula One visited the Middle East, which was Bahrain 2004, but that was a pretty dull race. So it's not really. And then Saudi Arabia, which is a street circuit. 40 years ago, we raced in the streets of Las Vegas, which is a new venue, and it was a championship decider. So they were the 2 ideas I had. But that idea is really good. So I might focus more on the championship battles rather than the venue.
Up to you, mate. Whatever you feel like.
You can always pull the human rights card. I wouldn't blame you for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty safe bet.
I think we're going to have some, I don't want to say who for obvious reasons, but I think we're going to have some panelists abstaining from the next few races. And you know what? I don't blame them. I really don't blame them.
I don't blame them. I really, really struggle to see how that Jeddah circuit is going to be built.
Yeah, it doesn't look anywhere near being done. Not just the roads themselves. I mean, you could do that relatively easy, but it's the pits are still
building.
like, they're a husk, aren't they? There's nothing there.
It reminds me of, it's going to be the Fire Festival of F1.
Oh, that's
Fire Festival.
No,
That's a
Fire-
reference for you.
I think
I know
Fire
what you
Festival
mean.
was actually better organised, to be honest.
Yeah.
Less controversial for sure.
Yeah, this much less.
Yeah, I mean, we're splitting hairs here. But talking of things which are that close, here's something for you. If Hamilton wins Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and Max Verstappen finishes second in both races, with neither driver getting fastest lap in either race, they will go into Abu Dhabi tied on points.
Alex, you said that a few minutes ago, I'm sure.
Alex did, don't worry. At least this
I'm
person
so
recorded.
sorry.
We're all good.
I'm so sorry.
At least you're not repeating it in the show itself. But
Yeah, honestly. Fuck me, I'm dangerous today.
Don't worry, it's late. It's late on a Sunday evening. You can get away with that one. Then.
Yeah,
Alex,
all
I'm so
got-
sorry.
Work tomorrow, it's fair enough.
One good thing is I think that is very likely to happen.
Oh, it could. Oh, right. Okay. To be honest,
It
assuming Jeddah is finished, because maybe I didn't know that you could actually run an F1 an F1 garage out of a tent. But
If you were the Life F1 team in 1990, you could.
Yeah, going back to the old days or something like that, like two guys and two drivers. That's like it.
See, the thing for me is we might actually end up with a sort of turkey. Like, I don't know what. Right, according to Steve, I think what Steve was saying maybe yesterday on the show. Because I think I was watching the post show a bit. But there was apparently the actual roadway is down. Like is been put down. I don't know how recent.
About this yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know how recently it was. I don't know if you discussed it. I'm sorry, I didn't really see.
No, it's fine.
But we could have a sort of a turkey scenario. Luckily, we'll have the heat, so it won't have the cold temperatures that we had in 2020 for Turkey. But imagine if there's still like sort of bitumen and stuff coming up, and all resins and oils and things.
It's a night race, though, isn't it?
It's meant to be a night race, but it's
be-
still fairly warm.
It will be, but it won't be like ridiculous. It won't be as warm as it was for Brazil this weekend.
No, of course not. No, but
It's
I don't know.
going to be a night race.
It is-
Is it like Abu Dhabi where it's a twilight?
It's a twilight race, yeah.
I think my thinking is that based on the track layout, I imagine it will benefit Mercedes.
Probably. They seem to do better in cooler temps.
And with Qatar, I don't know how I'm going to preview it, because obviously I don't know actually. Has the circuit been used for MotoGP? Was it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's been a MotoGP for 16
I'm going to have to
years.
look at the MotoGP some highlights videos of that, but also it's also not really applicable in some ways, because obviously this is a downforce category in MotoGP. Well, it's got those winglets now. Isn't really a downforce category.
I don't think it's going to lend itself very well to F1.
No, I think the cornering speeds are going to be too high, so I think overtaking will be really difficult there.
Yeah, it's
It's
just
too
gonna,
narrow as well.
But it's not great.
it's going to be the Monaco of the desert.
Yeah. Yeah, it's too narrow as well. I mean, you got a great whacking long straight along the pit straight. That'll produce some passing, but the rest of the infield section is just so tight.
Yeah.
I can't see any passes being done there successfully anyway. I'm sure Tsunoda's going to try a few moves knowing him, but
I've seen a simulation of an F1 car going around it. I think it might have been off a set of Corsa or something like that, but it was sort of pretty thick and fast. It reminds me a lot of Bahrain in some ways, sort of, but like not the good Bahrain, the endurance layout of Bahrain, the long one.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite that bad, but I know what you mean. It doesn't seem right, but they're going to do a permanent circuit for 2023. So at least we don't have to go there again, but we have to go back to Qatar eventually.
Well, they put that around the
World Cup.
Yeah, that.
Jeez.
Actually, I think they may well do.
Yeah, they're not running it next year. There's not going to be one next year because it'd be in the winter, and the World Cup's in the winter.
Yeah.
Because money. It's not just
Yeah,
F1
yeah.
guys, don't worry.
Yeah.
All sports are affected by it.
Cough, FIFA.
Exactly. Let's get into some of these questions. We've had quite a few on the live chat. Connor Walker, as always, first man in there, of course. First comment. He said he mentioned this in yesterday's chat. For all the talk about Norris's season, Leclerc has done almost as well, and that's with quite a lot of bad luck all season. Yeah, that's fair enough. He's almost caught him in points now. Him and Sainz, for that matter, both Ferrari drivers. I mean, I think we gave. I mean, I personally gave Sainz and Leclerc an A in the mid-season ratings, both of them. I think we're going to have similar ratings when we do our season ratings for the full season after Abu Dhabi. But they've both done incredibly well. I mean, the car has got better, definitely, but both drivers for Ferrari this year have just been incredibly consistent.
Yeah.
I was expecting Leclerc to pretty much show Sainz the way to go this year, but that's not happened. Sainz has been really close to him, been ahead of him on occasions, and that's been really good to see.
Yeah, finished third in the sprint race. Incredible performance.
For me, they're maximising the performance of the car. They're like what, 8 points apart, less than that. 8.5 points apart in the standings. And Lando Norris, on the other hand, is, remember he was third, not too. Like the latter half of Lando Norris's season, through a bit of, some not a fault of his own, but I think the performance of the car has really stalled out. Whereas the Ferrari, they seem to have got on top of it, and they're really pushing forward at this point.
Conor Walker also commented, after I thought Yuki turned a bit of a corner, he does awful again. Gasly is really carrying Alfa on his shoulders, AlphaTauri that is, and we got it up after, I think, Mexico. It was something like Gasly had scored 80 points and Tsunoda had scored 20. I mean, I'll get the driver standings up now to illustrate the difference. I mean, Gasly's almost up there with Ricciardo in a McLaren. That's no mean feat.
Ricciardo's won a race this season, let's not forget.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gasly's been unlucky at times. I think Bahrain, he lost his front wing on Ricciardo's car, and I think another race as well, the same thing happened again. So he's had some big point scores that he's missed, but he's scored 92 points. Tsunoda scored 20. So figure that ratio out. You're talking over 80% of the points for AlphaTauri have come from Gasly. That's got to be the biggest slice of a pie from one driver for a constructor out of any of them.
Yeah.
But to be honest with you, I mean, I was thinking this today. Gasly, it's not so much that Tsunoda's been bad, because at times he has been bad for sure. But Gasly, genuinely, if he's been performing this season, I think he could make a claim for driver of the season. I don't think he's going to get it. It's going to be Hamilton or Verstappen, but he's definitely got a shout.
It's going to be whoever wins the championship.
Yeah.
It's pity I've only just thought of it now, but I'm sorry, Alex, but Gasly's overtakes on those Alpines in the last few laps. I know he had younger tyres, but they were that's good stuff. Really good stuff. That's put you in a Red Bull a few years ago stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine that's a poison chalice. I wouldn't want to be there, to be honest.
No. And also Gasly is a much more mature driver than he was a few years ago. I think him being demoted from Red Bull was actually one of the best things that's happened to him.
Yeah.
As strange as that may sound, I think it's actually done him the world of good, because he's gone back to AlphaTauri where he's developed, and he's just such a better driver than he was before.
He'll definitely win if we have an award for the most improved driver of the year. Probably.
100%, yeah.
He did well last year, to be fair. But...
Yeah, we could have given that to him last year as well, really.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, less pressure does wonders for him. He just, and maybe he doesn't do well in high pressure environments like Red Bull. But AlphaTauri, there's a lot less of it probably. Although I guess looking at how Tsunoda's doing, you wouldn't guess that. But yeah, there we go.
I think he was more just a victim of the way Red Bull worked, because they bring drivers in too early. I mean, he really shouldn't have been in Red Bull in 2019. I don't think it was too early for him. But at the time, I don't really think they could have done anything else, because they were losing Ricciardo. And
Yeah.
I think they tried to entice Sebastian Vettel to come back, but that wasn't going to work with him.
Nah.
So it was, it was really like the only real option.
Sorry, everyone. Now I just died live on video.
Happens to the best of us.
Swallowed wrong, and that was just coughed. Just a coughing fit there.
Joe Knight's put, feels like Mercedes have entered an overdrive mode. Well, I mean, that's partly what new power units will do for you. I mean, it's what Ferrari have done as well. They got new power units, and it just the pace that they've had. I mean, I think the Honda's, looking at how Gasly can breeze past people, I think the Honda's probably the most powerful engine on the grid, but because it's fresh, the Mercedes in the back of Hamilton's car has just been on another level, like Bottas at Turkey. I think that was a relatively new engine he had as well, and he was just untouchable.
Yeah. Plus, with the helping hand from DRS.
And I think they have the straight line speed, even without DRS.
I think it's one of the... Let's carry on.
I was going to say, they probably set, after Hamilton got disqualified from qualifying, they probably set the car up so that so it could overtake more easily. So that would have helped as well. But still, it's just a ridiculous drive by Hamilton. You shouldn't be able to do stuff like that.
I will say the new power units, it's a compounding effect as well. Because if you think, obviously, if you were trying to work it off, let's say it's 3 power units, just, obviously there's different component amounts for various different things. But, everyone's trying, let's say it's a 22 race season. Obviously, you've got to have one power unit last like 7.3 races. And if you've got like 5 or 6, then obviously, they've got 4 races. Mercedes got 3 races now, 3 events on with a number of power units that they can use, and I think that's, you can just run those so much higher now.
Definitely, without a doubt. And how, in the sense of Hamilton as well, he's coming from behind. In a sense, he's got nothing to lose. He's got no pressure from behind in third, so he can take some more risks.
Yeah.
I'll just skip ahead slightly in the chat to go to Peter on pole. Peter Bajuzzi, obviously, he's been on a few of our shows a long time ago now. Great to hear from you, Pete. Hope you're doing well, mate. I think you got a podcast of your own. Definitely go and check that out if you guys haven't checked it out. Peter on pole's put, what's happening, gang? Long time. Hope you're well. What a title race we have this season. Do you think the pace of the Mercedes will normalise after next week, in brackets, new engine? Probably not. They're probably going to have an advantage, but it's probably not going to be as big as what it was this weekend. But then again, very long straight in Qatar, that could really favour them.
I think also we've got to remember that we're now going back to sort of, Qatar's not a hilly country really, as it were. So
it's flat as a pancake, that circuit.
And neither are Saudi Arabia and Yas Marina, not Yas Marina, sorry. Yas Marina. It is Yas Marina. I was thinking, I'm getting a bit confused. That's both flat. That's both flat as a pancake and right next to the water. So obviously we had the whole turbo. Obviously the Honda engine seems to work better at higher altitudes because the thinking is that the turbo is running within more of the running at a lower RPM than the 125,000 RPM limit. So that they can run it higher when it gets to a higher altitude and obviously get back some of the performance they're losing from the altitude. Apparently Mercedes can't do that, but that advantage goes away when you bring it back down to sea level. So I think that brings it more into Mercedes' court. I think it's foolish to make predictions at this point because we'll get there and it will change.
Yeah, you can't predict it. I generally thought Red Bull will walk away with it, especially with being 1-2 in the first corner. But no, Mercedes look faster, absolutely faster this weekend. John Knight's put another comment on. This is an interesting one. I agree with it, to be honest with you. They're both brilliant drivers, i.e. Hamilton and Verstappen. But that move from Verstappen highlights his immaturity still. And I kind of agree with that to an extent. I mean, at least he admitted after the race, look, I did everything I could. He got a black and white flag for weaving on the straight. He ran Hamilton wide. He did everything he could to keep him behind and probably overstepped the boundaries quite literally and figuratively in some ways. And he was lucky to not get a proper penalty.
I think he was, but I think with the roles reversed, would Lewis have done a similar thing? I don't know. I don't think he would have weaved on the straights, I reckon, but I don't know about running him that far wide. He would have run him wide, but he would have kept on the track himself, probably. Possibly.
It's hard. It's impossible to tell. It's impossible to tell. But the other thing is, and I was thinking this again during the race, if Mazepin did that, if Stroll did that, if Tsunoda did that, we'd be saying, what is that? How have they done that? Give him a penalty. Maybe I'm just thinking a bit tinfoil hat there. I don't know, but I feel like we'd have a very different reaction to it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's
Apologies if we've already spoken about it. Have you seen that picture, this comparison of Toto Wolff doing the...
Have you just put it on the Slack?
It was Steve. I just went to post it.
Cat,
Steve has just posted it. Look at it.
It's so good.
Brilliant.
I want to talk more about this. You see it quite a lot on sports coverage. Particularly, I've been watching the rugby over the weekend because it's on Amazon Prime, and it's good. But anyway, you see them pan across they obviously do those shots of the crowd, and it takes people a second to know where the camera is and then wave. Like Toto was on it, like just bam, straight there, like right down the lens, and that's genuinely impressive. That's more impressive than his skills as managing Mercedes Formula One team, in my opinion.
Definitely up there. Oh god. I love how Steve's posted that I've not seen the race yet.
He's not seen the race yet. You'll find out.
Oh, right, yeah.
I'm not spoiling.
Yeah, you'll find out. Yeah,
no,
you can't spoil that for him.
I like hyped Toto. Hyped Toto must be fun to deal with.
Oh god. Michael Gonzalez has put a few comments in, and thank you, Michael. I always see you commenting, and especially on Facebook and Twitter. I think you're very active on there as well. He's put did not get to see Saturday other than seeing on ESPN. Lewis Hamilton had been disqualified from quali. Thought championship was over. 30 laps in, my buddy messaged me. Hamilton was second at lap 40 plus. Wow, turned the race on them. And yeah, I mean it's slightly longer than a normal race in the sense that it's about 400 kilometers instead of 300, but he's essentially gone from last to first, which there's not many times when that's happened. I mean, Hamilton himself did it in Hockenheim, but even then, he was 16th. He wasn't right at the back. He wasn't last. So for him to do that, it's incredible.
I think it just goes to show that you can't afford to miss a race this season. Like
You can't.
Like they all matter.
And you never know what's going to happen. It's totally unpredictable. Like, yeah, but
God, I hate it. I hate that it's so unpredictable.
Oh, it's great. It's great for the people whose team isn't involved in the championship.
So if you're a neutral, I envy you because you're having a really great ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been incredible. Last year was great as well for the racing. It's just a shame we didn't have a championship battle, but we've had it this season and it's still going. Just need to go a couple more rounds. Need to get to Abu Dhabi. That's the only thing.
When was the last time we had a battle? Like 2012 was the last time we had a battle between two opposing teams.
Yeah, that was the last one.
And even then, actually, I would say that's not really applicable because the cars weren't so evil. But not evil, equal. Yeah, evil. Yeah, good.
Evil cars, like evil
cars. Yeah, that Mercedes looks angry. I don't know what 2010. Would you say 2010? Maybe 2008, 7 was probably the last
2010
time
we had 3 teams that were pretty even through the season.
I mean, that was, I think, anomalous, though, because we had 5 drivers going into the last race still within a shout of the championship there.
That was mental, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think the last time we can say we had 2 teams, like, really all season long, maybe 2012 with McLaren and Red Bull. Do you think? Because McLaren were good that year.
Well, the Ferrari as well, because Alonso was right up there.
True, yeah. So I suppose if you see from a driver's perspective, you'd say Alonso and Vettel, because obviously there's that famous picture of Alonso just staring into the abyss.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That was. I reckon he knew at that point. I think he maybe even just knew in the back of his mind, like it's just supernaturally almost that's my last chance at a championship gone.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Or that, like I've done, like, he must have thought
everything. He did everything he possibly could.
He must have thought, bearing in mind that Vettel got spun out on lap 1,
and had
There's
damage.
no way. There's no way you can come back. It must feel like if I were Max, that's what I'd feel like almost. I think the guy's, effectively 25 places down over 400 kilometers, and he comes back and wins. Maybe Max is stronger than that. Maybe he won't think of it the way I'm thinking of it. But if I were that would be incredibly demoralizing.
A bit like Russia this year as well, when Verstappen started at the back and Hamilton rocked up to first place. And then he sees Verstappen pulling in for second. He's like, what? How are you here?
God, there was another race there was a race in 2012 like that. I can't remember. I think Alonso won, and he would have been delighted by that, but he wouldn't have been to see. I think it might have been Abu Dhabi, potentially. Where
he didn't win, but I think Alonso was second and Vettel had been at the back, and he finished third.
Yeah,
Abu Dhabi. You're right. It is Abu Dhabi. Yeah, because that was started from the pit lane.
Yeah, I mean, pit lane start. Smashed his front wing.
And if you remember the reason why he started from the pit lane, he didn't have enough fuel to give a sample.
No.
So he's been hit with that a few times, hasn't he?
Yeah, maybe it's Seb. One thing I would recommend, actually, because they're incredibly well done. Unfortunately, you can't get them through the BBC, but no one record this. But if you go back and watch the BBC season reviews from about 2010 up to 2015, they are excellent. And the job they do in 2012 is particularly good.
Yeah, I remember that being a good one. I do miss the BBC reviews.
You don't get anything like it. It's a shame.
Yeah. A long time ago, the BBC had Formula One. 8 years now, I think. 2013 in the final year.
I just miss the job that they did editorializing the thing. It was, and from a racist perspective rather than compared to the Drive to Survive. I can't wait for the Drive to Survive of this. This is going to be excellent.
Oh, it's going to be sensational.
I really hope they change the way they do things, and actually, no, I guess it could lean into it, because it's more like this year has been about the personal relationship between Hamilton and Verstappen, which I think lends to their format quite well.
Verstappen's declined to be in it, though, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's not doing interviews. He'll still be in it, but he won't do interviews for them.
I don't blame him, to be honest.
No, I don't. They just sensationalize things and make it into a drama. And at the end of the day, it makes it more entertaining, of course. But for the fans who've actually watched the season, it's just like that's not how it went. That's not what happened.
No, of course not. But that's the Netflix way. To be fair, Netflix is. I believe Netflix's strategy is to get people onto the platform, which I think also is why Liberty Media have partnered with them specifically.
It works, to be fair. There's a lot of fans who've got into the sport because of it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to gatekeep how you enjoy Formula One. If you enjoy, I know people who enjoy Formula One off, the TikToks.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm just like, I don't care. I just want more people to watch Formula One.
Yeah,
in any capacity.
Yeah, people can take whatever enjoyment they want from it. If that's watching Drive to Survive, great. If that's like us, where we watch, like pretty much, where we sit here and watch the race with like live television and stuff open, so be it. I'm just glad that we got more people coming into the sport, to be honest.
Definitely, it's good in that sense, and more fans coming in is always good. It expands the profile of the sport, no end. It was Conor Walker again. People are complaining about an illegal engine change for Hamilton, but I didn't think there was anything suspicious. But I feel like Red Bull are just calling investigations to be annoying at the moment. I hadn't heard about that, but I mean,
I haven't heard anything about an illegal, about anybody crying foul about anything for an engine change.
Yeah, an engine change. I know that Toto in the post-race interviews with Sky were basically said, if you think our engine's illegal, protest us.
Oh, right.
So it might be to do with that. That's a throwing down a gauntlet. I don't think you'd do that if you weren't confident.
No, that's just Toto being Toto.
I mean, this is all gamesmanship. This has been raging all season.
Yeah,
they're Formula One teams. So this is how it goes.
Yeah. Well, I saw a comment about 50 minutes ago of a page where I put up that Hamilton is or someone from Mercedes has been summoned to the stewards about the Hamilton thing. It wasn't Hamilton himself who had to go. I said there's been that, and then I think Christian Horner and Red Bull live rent free in some Merc fans' heads, because straight away people are saying, I bet this is Christian Horner whinging to F1. I bet it's Red Bull whinging. No, it's Hamilton breaking a minor rule. Yes, a very minor rule. But these rules are there for a reason. It's in the same way that Max broke a minor rule, got reprimanded for it. Hamilton broke a minor rule and got reprimanded for it.
Yeah, it doesn't change the result at the end of the day.
No, exactly. And it was never going to.
They're there for a reason, especially putting your belts up properly and stuff. That is important. I mean, you go down you drive your car, don't put the seatbelts on, policeman spots you, pull you over. Exactly. It's exactly that kind of thing. What was I going to say now? Oh yeah, you know what I was really surprised about this weekend, and it might have just gone over my head through the last few years in Brazil. But when did Hamilton get such a following in Brazil? Because I remember, obviously, he had the battles with Massa for the championship. He had battles on track with Massa for a good few years after that. I thought he was a very unpopular driver in Brazil, but they were loving him this weekend. Is it just the Senna connection? Is that why they've really taken to him?
It probably is. They probably respect his admiration for it and his ability as a driver as well.
Yeah, that's undeniable, isn't it, at this point?
I think as well, there's something of the, I don't know, there's some amount of charisma there that just, I think, may appeal.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I'm just surprised that's all. Yeah, it's just one of them, isn't it? Where it's just like this guy just is incredible. Like nobody can match him for his stats, for the amounts of wins, podiums, and maybe not even for championships after this season. Maybe he'll pass Schumacher and get his 8th, but he's up there for sure. So it makes sense why he's got a lot of fans there. I was just surprised at how many. It was like he was the local driver, but I guess not having a local driver probably helps in that regard. There are no Brazilians on the grid, are there? Unless I'm just completely missing anybody.
No, nobody on the grid. The last Brazilian driver to even drive an F1 car in an event, if you can class him as Brazilian, which I don't think you can, so I think he races under an American license, was Fittipaldi last season. Yes. But I think he races under an American license.
I think he does, because he was born in America. So the last proper full-time Brazilian driver would have been Massa. Yeah. 4 years ago now. It's just surprising. It's Brazil just not making that much talent. I mean, I think there's Drogovic in F2, but I don't really see him getting to F1. What was that, Alex?
I was thinking Drogovic, but he's not had the greatest of seasons in F2. He was really good last year, but this year not gone as well.
He does all right, but isn't he a part of the Alpine Renault Academy?
I think he certainly was, yeah.
So, yeah, that doesn't bode well for his chances of getting a drive.
No.
Got a good few drivers ahead of him.
Yeah. Well, Oscar Piastri is the main one on that list.
Yeah, it's a shame. I really want to see him in F1. I think it might be too soon for him, but if he wins F2, he can't compete in F2 next season. So it's like, where's he going to go?
You'd have to go to a Super Formula or Formula E or something like that, like Gasly did for a year.
Yeah, that's true. It worked for Gasly, to be fair.
Yeah.
Nick as well with Formula E.
Here's a thought. Do you think there's scope for Haas becoming a Ferrari junior team?
I thought they were going to be that anyway for a while.
Supposed to be, but that's not really what they're doing.
Was it originally they had this apparent partnership with Haas, because if you look at 2016, their car was very similar. But as they just got more and more shit over the years.
They put more involvement with Alfa Romeo, didn't they?
Ferrari do, yeah. Although Ferrari don't have control over a seat anymore at Alfa Romeo, and they still do at Haas.
Yeah, I mean, they got Mick Schumacher there, aren't they? So I suppose it maybe would shift more towards Haas, but it kind of depends on what Mazepin Senior wants, because I don't see Gene Haas staying there for that much longer. I don't know how he can justify it. He's hemorrhaging millions on that team at the moment. if next year doesn't go to plan, if they're not firmly in the midfield again.
If Haas have another season at the back of the grid, even if they're getting points, if they are P10 next year, I think Gene Haas will pull the plug. I think he was very, very close this year, and I think it will become a full Russian-backed, funded, operated, licensed team.
You'd need a rich, dedicated buyer though, because it's not like Gene Haas is going to be able to sell it to anyone else because it doesn't.
Well, Daddy Mazepin will just take over.
Well, that's what I mean. But I don't see him being able to sell it to anyone else, and I think the connection, as you say, is already there for the Mazepin family to actually come in and move in with that, because you can't sell it currently in its current form.
Well, no, who's going to?
It's not good enough.
Yeah,
it depends how much their involvement with it wants to be as well, because they're like anybody else. They're only going to be interested in success. If they're constantly like that, then how much longer are even they going to be interested in?
I suppose the Russian government would want to kind of get in on that. I can imagine. Phil jokes about Vladimir Putin and all that, but you can't tell me that he wouldn't want a strong team in F1 with Russian backing if he could.
No, sports washing's been there for ages, so yeah. And to be fair, it's a relatively cheap investment now, because obviously it used to be that you could have a limitless budget, and now it's not. Obviously, with the amount that you can actually spend, it's 200 million, which is half the cost that it used to be to run one team. I'm talking about like £200 million difference as that's pocket change, but obviously that's significantly less than the 400+ million a year Ferrari was spending in Toyota, for example.
Oh God, Toyota.
That's the point.
The fact that Toyota didn't win anything with that much investment is baffling to me.
The lesson how to get it wrong.
Yeah.
The same team essentially has gone on to be a dominant force over in WEC, and I know it's obviously completely different, and the cost structure is just it's not entirely applicable, but that's still that shows that they're no slouches over there. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, Formula One is a strange mistress when it wants to be, for sure. But yeah, yeah. But I think I'm going to call the show there. We've answered all the questions really on the live chat. Thanks to everybody who joined for that and left a comment. But yeah, good catching up with you lads as well. I'll put out the call to pod for Qatar on Tuesday after the preview show tomorrow, which is being hosted by you, Owain, I think, if I remember correctly.
Certainly is. Right,
there we go. So yeah, I'll do that on Tuesday. Ask when you guys are free or whatever. Only 2 shows this weekend, so it's a bit better.
So is it the end of the triple headers?
Yeah,
it is indeed. The most weird triple header ever. It's like we couldn't have a week off now and go to Qatar next week.
They were packing up so quickly after the race, like instantly.
They were. They've got a week to go. Like how many miles? Well, they had problems getting from Mexico City. Obviously, it was weather affected in Mexico City when they were leaving on Tuesday. But they had trouble getting into Lagos, and that's not particularly far away.
Yeah, I know.
This is literally half the world away.
It's getting up there, isn't it? You got to cross the Atlantic and some. It's got to be a 12-hour flight from Brazil to Qatar, surely.
Right, Qatar's a major hub. Qatar's a major hub to get to the Far East. Like if you want to go to Japan, you usually fly through Doha or
very true,
or Dubai or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
So it's like that's a long way.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been to Doha Airport. It's massive. It's a huge hub.
Yeah.
It's just so empty though. Nobody flies through it for the most part. They all go through Abu Dhabi, but they obviously want that to change.
Yeah, non-stop. It is closer to 14 hours.
Does that change with freight?
Actually, no.
I was going to say, do you have to land in Cape Town or somewhere like that?
Oh, I don't know. That was direct, that flight as well.
I'm sure DHL will figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, lads. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekends. See you later.
See you
tomorrow. Bye.